gorgeous. I'm the Fairy Voice Mother, and today I am going to be reacting to Gene Metamorphosis. Oh, this has got to be the most requested performance for me to analyze in the beatbox realm ever on the channel. I've put it in many of the polls on Patreon, but it was never chosen. So I simply had to take matters into my own hands and do this anyway. This video is brought to you today by me, and to Ryan Smallwood for always championing my videos and helping the beatbox community find them, which has been so special. So thank you. Nice. Limber
What's up? I'm Gene from the USA, and this is my GBB Solo Wildcard 2021. Here we go. Here we are, at the finish line, standing strong, still alive. You and I have come so far, chasing the light as it twinkles from afar. But there may not be enough. To find out where
this kid can sing. The thing that tells me how good he is from the very beginning is the fact that as soon as he starts singing, it's so much higher than his talking voice, but it's still balanced and strong, and the pitch is really controlled, which means he's in mixed voice. And mixed voice just basically means you're not bound by any extremes, like your speaking range where it's nice and low and warm and heavy, or your like falsetto range where it's really high and airy. He's able to play between those registers without unsolicited yodels. Light as it twinkles from afar. Two completely different placements without it being cracky or out of tune. Just blurred and smooth. Blade. That's how you know you've unlocked this mix voice. I say unlocked just because I've seen that phrase so many bloody times now, but it isn't actually a case of unlocking it, it's a case of swimming through it. A lot of us, including myself, need to train this because it's a quite advanced muscle coordination. It's the muscle that keeps your vocal folds thick, and the muscle that elongates the vocal folds, the TA and the CT muscle, have to work together like the bicep and tricep to actually control the thickness and length of the vocal folds. So yeah, it's bloody difficult in conclusion. He seems to be using this rather sparse beginning section as a bit of a warm-up in a way, because the intervals get larger and larger with every line. Here we are, at the finish line, standing strong, still alive. And they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, these intervals, and that's actually giving his voice a chance to practice what it feels like to go through these different placements, which is really smart, because if you launch into something too crazy straight away, it can be really hard to establish an appropriate breath pressure, because imagine your vocal folds, when you sing a low note, they come together much slower. If you sing that same note an octave higher, they'll come together at double the speed. So if you start off with a very, very low note and then a very, very high note and then a very, very low note again, those vocal folds are requiring drastically different breath pressures to do their job. He is definitely skilled enough to do that. But to give him chance to establish what those different breath pressure requirements are at the beginning of the song, it will put him in good stead. Oh, there's a lot to love about the transition into this new section. Okay, so the first thing is the scale that he used was super, super cool. That is a type of whole tone scale. So tell me, what is your first thought when you hear this scale? If you said a dream sequence...
And we flashed back to the night before.
That's what I was expecting. If you said something else, that's also fine as well. You shouldn't let anyone tell you how to enjoy things. But the reason this whole tone scale feels like a dream is because it doesn't have any fundamental points. Usually in all the other scales, there's a mix of intervals. Whole tone, half tone in various orders depending on what scale you're doing. The whole tone scale has no point of reference because the intervals are the exact same. He's basically used a really classy version of the whole tone scale by doing the little whole tones, leaving a major third interval between each little whole tone. If you want to make people feel like they're dreaming, floating in a song with no end. Whole tone scale. That was a W for whole. It was stupid. Anyway, the other cool thing about that was the way that he chose to perform it. We had two different kinds of onsets. We had a little tongue onset, da da da, and then a breathy onset, ha ha ha. Each one of those helps push that note into place. That pressure of the tongue helps set the breath pressure to make sure the note punches out super clean. And then as he sort of transitioned into more of a mode 2 delicate register to finish this fabulous scale of dreams, would not be appropriate, would be too heavy. And the consequence of his immaculate precision, both in the resonance of his voice and the pitch, it just allows us to be in awe. That was only a description of part A of the transition, because then he comes back down into this chord, this lippy chord, and I don't know how. Let's try and find out. No. How do you get the note? Wow, that's itchy. I think the vibration of his lips are doing like a ooh, no, and his voice is doing ooh. That's what it sounds like. Oh no, I don't think it's a lip trill. Wow! Is that it? Okay, this is my new favourite thing to do. I'm assuming that the gist of it is you kind of use your lips as like an extra set of vocal folds, because it's kind of all the vocal folds are. It's like two flappy pieces of tissue that come together and vibrate at the right amount of times per second to produce a certain frequency. It's the same principle as throat singing. When you can vibrate your false vocal folds together at an even oscillation, you will also get a pitch out of those as well. And I just don't know why this is such a secret, because it makes sense. It just seems cruel and unjust that so many of us are kept in the dark about this ability to multi-flap. Even voice professionals, even educators. How are we supposed to educate the voices of the future if we don't even mention that there is flapping abilities beyond their voice? It's baffling. Oh, that's so good.
So make us who we are. It's what make us who we are. Make us who we make us who we make us who we are.
So Gene has managed to tame the flapping of his lips and manipulate them in several positions. Like we've got a little bit of this going on. It doesn't seem like he prefers a side. It's like this side for this set of notes perhaps, and the other side for another set. In the context of a performance, obviously you have to be precise. They have to be the notes that work in the key of this composition. So yeah, that's really cool. The clucks are wildly resonant. It's really intense. He does this cheeky little thing where he introduces like a baby snare, and then you're like, hang on. Are we going into a new section? Is that what you're telling us? And then we do. I love that. You got to have a little bit of foreshadowing. Build up, drop. Classic. The slides are crazy impressive. How he can control those pitch bends down with both the lips and the vocal folds at the same time. It's mesmerizing. It took a lot of breath as well. He really had to dig deep for that one. And then he slaps us in the face. Very nice. I guess that's the throat bass. I know there's like a gazillion types, but that seems like a bass in the throat region. And these crazy phrases, I think, is a technique called like reverse yodeling or reverse breaking or something like that. So usually the natural trajectory of a yodel is up, right? We would go and it's so tricky because the reason that the natural trajectory of a yodel is down to up all the time is because the higher note wants to relieve some of the pressure because it's higher. When you go between you have to slam the pressure back on the higher note after it's just been lower and more relaxed. So it's super confusing and very fun to practice. Because what happens is you kind of sound like there's like auto-tune in your voice. It gives you this synthy edge. Because we never hear singers do that, which I think is the whole point of beatboxing. I just can't get over how precise all of these pitches are. It's absolutely incredible. It really is incredible. Even this comparatively basic move. The way that he was able to keep that hiss of breath throughout that whole phrase, you would need to constrict your vocal tract a little bit to do that. To shroud those notes in hiss and make it sound like there's two layers, like a and the notes at the same time. It's incredible. The snare clap things are, they're nasty. How? Is that one of those spit snare things where you have to do that little froggy move?
Make us who we are. All that I am.
Oh, snap.
All thanks to you. Someday I'll be somebody. Someday I'll be.
Oh my goodness me, how beautiful. Oh. Okay, I get it. I totally understand now why this is such an important performance to hear while you're getting into beatboxing. It's in a different realm entirely. Oh, for this outro, he could have easily just sort of doubled the middle crazy section. But no. We've got new scales here. It's more tense and because the intervals are right next to each other. Then we have the jumps and the release. So basically, he really, really knows what he's doing harmonically. He sounded like a violin there. Oh gosh, this is so cool. Where he held his son was tense because it was in the middle of the next two notes that he hits at the same time. He goes from here to here. But the F is down there instead because the lips are doing the F. Just like that. And the A is being sung. Tension, release. Gene, if you happen to watch this video, don't be alarmed, but I am obsessed with you. Anyone that uses jazzy kind of advanced musical theory is super cool in any instrument. But in this case, we've got jazzy chords being performed in a interesting 3-part composition with percussion, completely sonically full, and it's one person at the same time with no effects and a mic. We can even hear the little birdies tweeting outside. I know that there isn't effects on this, I can just tell. One of the most significant reasons why this is such a glorious composition that we haven't really spoke about yet is his use of space. It's a lot easier to kind of lock in with constant kicks and snares and that kind of thing, but he was able to give us space. And after every pause, we got another marvelous cascade of notes, all in different scales, all accompanied by different percussive sounds as well. They were excellent. The snares, as I say, were they actually hurt my ears a little bit. He's obviously mastered all the beatbox classic things, like there was kicks in there and throat basses and God knows what else trickery, but it was not about that. It was about his composition. This is an actual work of art that he just seems to happen to be able to perform all by himself at the same time. One of the most inspiring things that I took from this is that there are so many methods to sing 2 notes at the same time, something that most people actually would think is impossible if they're not in this realm that we're all in together now. There's all kinds of poly voice practices. I'm so excited to see who he's inspired to push these ideas even further and create huge sonic spectrums. There is a blinding magic about him. I just can't wait to see what else he's got. I thought I had a lot to do today, but apparently the only thing I have to do today now is to practice my reverse yodeling and lip chords. All right, let's read out today's oracle card. You have made it through so many tough times in your life to get to where and who you are in this moment, and you will get through these tough times too. Trust me, for I am the tough times tiger, and I know my shit. I'm wearing a monocle, so I must be legit. Grab your monocles, you badass bitches. You got that tiger blood in you. Are you still here? Yes. Know how you're still here? No. Does it matter? All I'm saying is you got this. Be fierce if necessary. Raw, purr, whatever it takes, as tomorrow is one step further out of the tough. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed making it. If there are any singers, beatboxers, a cappella groups, or anything vocal of any kind you would like to see me analyse here on the channel, do let me know down below in our comments, as it would be my pleasure. If you managed to make it to the premiere today, then that is brilliant. Have a big premiere hug. And if you are here at any other time, not to fear. There is a big hug here for you too. Have a wonderful day. I love you very much, and I cannot wait to see you again in the next video. Mwah. Bye. Oh my goodness, that triggered the singing bowl. I'm the fairy voice mother, and I'm so blurry and slurry. Now, when you do a whole hotel, it's a nice big cluck he does as well. It sounds so gross when I do it. It sounds like I'm trying to be sick. No, I need to stop. Oh, crikey.